Senator Batters.
Thanks very much, both of you, for being here. First of all, Dr. Peterson, I want to go back to this issue of personal pronouns, and if you could please tell our committee more about this issue. It's something that I was not at all familiar with prior to this bill being introduced, and in particular about the gender-neutral pronouns and your experience in pushing back against being forced to use those gender-neutral pronouns.
Well, I don't think the people who initiated this legislation ever expected that there would be an absolute explosion of identities, first of all, and also of so-called personal pronouns, as there has been. I think Facebook now recognizes something like 71 separate gender identity categories, each of which in principle is associated with its own set of pronouns. And so it's become, well, linguistically, it's become a parody, essentially. It's become linguistically unmanageable. And it's also the case that words can't be introduced into the language by fiat. I can't even think of a time when that's actually worked. We're not exactly sure how words enter the common parlance, but it's certainly not that way. And so the legislation devolves into a kind of absurdity, as far as I can tell. I mean, one of the people that I discussed this with claimed that the way that you kept track of someone's personal pronouns was to use your cell phone as an adjunct to your communication. And I mean, you wouldn't say anything like that if you knew anything about common human nature, let's say, and the manner in which people communicate with one another.
Okay, so the types of pronouns you're talking about, just so everyone's clear, because I don't think these are common parlance, Z and Zer, and what other sorts of gender-neutral pronouns are we discussing here?
Well, I have a very bad memory for that sort of thing, but if you're interested in it, you can find lists of them very rapidly on the web, and they've been produced by, I think, they've been produced by people whose essential desire is to gain linguistic control. That's as simply as I can put it, is to gain linguistic control. But they're not used popularly. And that seems to me to be it's a real problem as a consequence, that you make failure to make their use something that could carry a criminal penalty. So I just don't understand that. And I don't understand how the government can justify imposing a criminal penalty on the use of words that no one either knows or uses. It just seems preposterous to me, but okay. There it is.
Could you please also tell us a little bit more about your personal experience in pushing back against this? And I mean, many are familiar with your story, but not everyone, so I just want to give you a little bit.
Well, I made a video, actually I made 3 videos, but we'll just talk about one of them. I made one criticizing Bill C16 for the reasons that I already described, because I went and read the policies, and they made my hair stand on end to the surrounding policies. And so I made a video stating essentially that and detailed out my reasons. And you know, I've been following the battle of, let's say, ideologies on campus for a very long period of time, and I suppose I have some expertise in that. And there's an ideological war that's ripping the campuses apart, and it's essentially between an ideological variant that's rooted in what's come to be known as postmodernism, with kind of a neo-Marxist base, and modernism, I would say. And that's accounting for all the turmoil on the campuses, and I see this as an extension of this campus turmoil into the broader world, and I really believe that is the proper level of analysis. I truly believe that. And so I said that I believe that this is a vanguard issue in a kind of ideological war, and that I'm not going to participate on the side of the people whose ideological stance I find reprehensible, unforgivable and reprehensible, especially the Marxist element of it. And so I announced that I wasn't going to use these words because I don't believe that they're instantiated to protect anyone's rights. I believe that the ideologues who are pushing this movement are using unsuspecting and sometimes complicit members of the so-called transgender community to push their ideological vanguard forward, and I firmly believe that. So I'm not participating in that. And the fact that it's potentially illegal for me not to participate in that is something that I regard as, I think that's absolutely dreadful. It puts a shudder in my heart as a Canadian that we could even possibly be in a situation like that. You know, if the identity claims that are instantiated in the policy surrounding this legislation are applied, it's going to be hell for the psychiatrists, excuse my language. It's going to be very difficult for the biologists and the psychiatrists next. And I think we'll see that happening very soon.
Thank you.